Yeah.
I genuinely.
Oh!
Are
That's
you
not
okay?
good. No, I'm fine. But
Yeah.
now we don't have a glass. Welcome to another of our YouTube episodes. This one is going to be the start of our Easter theme. So the intention is to do a few of our channels making Easter decor. So today we are going to be making a tumbler with our Resi Lace. And we thought we'd sort of keep it in a theme with like your Easter pastel colours. So let's get started and I'll show you what we've got here. Okay, so as I mentioned, we are using our Resi Lace today. And the reason I wanted to use Resi Lace is it is a slightly thicker resin, obviously designed to be poured no more than 4mm thick. So it's great for art coatings. And I will be using our White Horizon epoxy tint. So that way I'll be able to get my white base here. But I'm also using it in combination with our translucent dyes, and I've chosen four colours, four pastel Easter colours, sorry. So Shocking Pink, we've got our Kelly Green, we've got Brilliant Blue, and we also have Lemon Yellow. So these four translucent dyes I'm going to mix in with our Resi Lace that is tinted with our White Horizon tint. And that gives us our really cool pastel colour tones, which you can see in this tumbler here. I have a rotating cup machine. Okay, this guy was from online, relatively cheap, no special brand. So if you look up a cup rotator or tumbler, you'll be able to find exactly this little machine. The foam end of it, I've made just a little bit thicker and I've covered in clear packing tape up the end. So that way it fits, the most important thing, our glass tumbler on it. So it's actually wide enough where I can force my glass on the top here and not have it come off. But I'm not going to do that just yet because there's one stage that I have to do before we get all this sorted, and that's actually use some 240 grit sandpaper on our glass just to etch up the surface, so that way it'll give us a mechanical bond as well as a chemical bond when we pop our Resi Lace over the top. And aside from that, I've got some art stirrers, our 40ml dispenser cups, because I only want to make small portions of my pastel colours to put on there, and that's our equipment list. So let's get started and I'll show you how I quickly etch up this glass. Okay, so with my glass, with the 240 grit sandpaper, I want to etch all the surface that my Resi Lace is going to adhere to. And it's literally a matter of me getting in here, just using a little bit of firm pressure and going all the way around the glass. Yeah.
I genuinely.
Oh! That's
okay?
not good. Okay. So as you saw, in the middle of me etching the surface with the sandpaper, my glass cracked. This was quite a fine glass, so please be mindful, even protect your hands and wear like a cut resistant glove if you are doing something like this, or like our backup glass, which is a tiny bit thicker, use something along these lines. Okay, so this one has been etched up. We're going to remove this one out of the way so no one gets hurt. But we have etched this one up with our 240 grit sandpaper. Now the reason I etch it up, and you can see that the surface is now all scratched up, is so that we have a mechanical bond with our resin to the glass surface, because the glass is quite smooth. There is a chance if you don't etch the surface and there's no mechanical bond, that the resin could potentially delaminate down the track, especially when you're putting cold beverages in it and the temperature differences in the glass slightly expanding and contracting. So always etch up your glasses to ensure you get a mechanical bond as well. So we've done that now. I've made sure I cleaned down my glass surface as well. So I've actually just cleaned it down with our Resi Isopropyl, give it a nice spray down and a wipe down. And now it's ready for us to put on our tumbler machine. So I needed to make sure that my foam was really firm. I didn't want it loose because otherwise it won't hold the glass properly if it's too loose. So I want to squeeze it on and squeeze it right up. And I will just double check that it's going to rotate properly, that I haven't imbalanced the machine or anything like that. And now that I'm happy with that, I'll stop it for a little while we start to mix some of our colours up. Okay, because I'm working with a white base, I need to be able to have my White Horizon tint in this entire mixture, then I'll divide up into 4. We'll have our white tinted epoxy in these little dispenser cups, and then I will add my translucent dye back to those individual cups. So let's get our White Horizon tint into this Resi Lace that I've mixed up. And remember, if you want to see the measuring and mixing video, please check out the link attached. So I've previously mixed up our White Horizon tint. I'm now going to put a reasonable amount into our Resi Lace, and it is a solid opaque white tint. So it's not metallic, so it will turn my resin completely opaque, so you won't be able to see through it at all. I'll give it a nice thorough mix through. I do want to make sure I've got all the sides and the base, so none of the tint is stuck to the side of the container, and that it is thoroughly mixed through our Resi Lace. Okay. Now to divide just a small portion in each of our dispenser cups, because I don't need a great deal of the coloured pastel, just little amounts. And that's static. And this white here that we've got left in our ratio container is going to be the first layer on our tumbler. But before we do that, I want to add some of our translucent dyes to our little dispenser cups. So I'm going to pop probably about 4 or 5 drops, maybe not even that much, in each of these. So we'll start off with our shocking pink. So that was 5 drops there. And move to our Kelly green. Oops, I think that was about 6 or so. Our brilliant blue. Same again, about 6. And our lemon yellow. Alrighty. Mix those through. Okay. So that's our colours mixed. Pop them up the front here. And I'll pop them in the same order that I poured on for this one. So we started with our yellow, then we went to our green, then we went to our pink, and then we went to our blue. So we'll try to replicate exactly what we have going on here. Okay, just give it one last wipe down. And I'll be applying our white. You can use your hand. I'm going to use a art stirrer just so I don't have too much white all over my gloves. But basically, just to have something like that that can help distribute the resin, and so you're not wasting and dripping so much of it, but moving it across the surface. We want a nice even coverage over the entire surface before we start adding our coloured pastels on. So I'm going really close to the lip edge here. On my demonstration glass, I actually went a little bit too far up the top, and some of my white epoxy went onto the tape, which was adhered to the foam. So, and then I didn't realise that it actually seeped under the inside lip of the glass. To avoid that happening if you are going right to the top, you could potentially put on a little tape layer on the inside of the glass, so that way you will be able to remove it later and you won't have any epoxy sort of that's seeped in on the inside lip of the glass. On this occasion I haven't. I'm just being very mindful of where I put the epoxy close to the top end. Okay. So if white and pastels aren't your thing and you have other colours that you have in mind, as long as this base layer that I'm putting on with white at the moment, you do need a base down and nice good coverage before you add in your feature colours. So this base can be any colour. It can be completely translucent and clear if you want it to be, and then you add sort of colours on over the top of it, or glitters, and actually clear works really well with glitter. So if you do want to add your glitters and that in, I do recommend keeping as much clear as possible and having your glitter highly concentrated. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it can be clear, it can be black, it can be whatever sort of your base color is to your preference, but you do need a coating on it. So that way you get more even distribution over the entire glass first before adding your feature. And if you did want to see how to apply glitter on, I have done a champagne flute where the top third of the glass was with gold glitter. So if you want to have a look at that, please refer to the link above. Okay, I've got relatively even coverage. I just want to make sure I don't have any like thick chunky bits, because you can't have too much resin on it. What'll happen is if you put too much on, it may end up pooling, and then you'll end up having an uneven rotation because it'll feel the extra weight, and you'll end up having a bit of an egg shape happen, which you don't want to happen. So I'm just, now that I'm very even, I'm just slightly removing a little bit of my resin. And being lace, because it is a little bit thicker, it won't just immediately drip off, it will cling on, and you will end up having sort of an uneven surface potentially, where you do get like egg doming. And also keep in mind, I'm adding more colors back to this, so I'm adding more resin onto it as well. While that's just self-leveling, I am using my cloth, and I'm just going to pop it around this lip here, just to get a little bit more of an even finish on it, just gently, because I don't want to stop the motion of the rotator, but just so I have a little bit of a, and I'm just using isopropyl, our Resi isopropyl with my rag, just so I have a bit more of an even surface along the edge. And if you were to get any along the bottom that you didn't want on there, you can do the same thing. Okay, now for the fun part, we get to add some colors. So I will keep my art stirrer close by, but literally the way I popped this one on is exactly what I'm going to do here. Okay, so that was our yellow. We went to our green. I'm basically just weaving backwards and forth and then overlapping that weaving. That's our green, our pink, and our blue. And it was as simple as that. I've let it rotate out, and as it's rotating and moving, I may put a little bit of like white back through if I find like a bulk of color, like maybe this section here where it's a little bit bulkier in the green. But I let it rotate for a little bit and see where my colors are going and see what pattern is being created as it's rotating and moving. And apart from that, if I don't add any more white back in, I basically leave it. I let this rotate for about a 24-hour period just to make sure it is completely dry. You could, if you were wanting to sort of speed up the process, you could potentially take it off the rotator machine after it's tack-free. With the Resi Lace, that can happen in about sort of 3-4 hours. But sometimes when it's a little bit thicker in sections, I do like to be safe. I'd rather have it completely dry and know that it's fully cured before taking it off, in case there is a portion that may be a little bit thicker that might start to sag later on. So basically leaving it on here for 24 hours, and this is the effect that you get. Now, as I've mixed up a fair bit of my resin and colours together, that may trap a little bit of some bubbles into my resin mixture. So just to be safe, even though with it self-leveling like this, the bubble dispersion is pretty good, I will give it a nice even mist with isopropyl, and that will sort of help ensure that I don't have any bubbles in my resin layer. Being that it's lace, it could potentially help sort of move it around a little bit as well, open up a little bit of cellular work with it. But apart from that, I'm happy with that at the moment, so I'm just going to let it rotate and let it do its thing, and that way we'll have a matching Easter tumbler set in our beautiful pastel colours. So guys, if you want to follow along for our next couple of episodes, we will be doing our pastel Easter themed decor. We have a couple of other different ideas coming for you in the next episode, so make sure you stay tuned. But if you do have any comments about this or any questions, please leave them below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you for our next episode.